Hi there, Jenny. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Nice to see you this evening. Well,
So great
while
to
we're
see you
waiting
too.
for people to arrive, we're here in New York City. Jenny is in Brooklyn. I'm here in Lower Manhattan, and we had our really such a beautiful day today. It was like a game changer. We had beautiful sunny weather for those of you not in the area. So everybody's starting to feel a bit less, a bit safer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was beautiful today. It was
yeah,
almost
it really
60.
was beautiful. But we're here tonight to have a conversation with Jenny Sansouci, who's really been a friend and advocate for the Alchemist Kitchen, and she's recently written a terrific book called The Rebel's Apothecary. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have a little Q&A with her for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. This is all about connection and engagement. We want to take the benefit of having chat and a chance to have your questions directed to Jenny. So please feel comfortable, and we'll try and explore some topics together. And I think certainly to start, it will, as most authors, people want to know where the source of the inspiration for this book. This is your first book, correct?
Yep, first book.
Yeah, such
First
a
book.
great source of inspiration, and always such an amazing thing to accomplish the writing of a book. It's such a important milestone. So what for those of you knows, Jenny is also began your career as a health coach, right?
hmm
Yes. So it will be great to hear what was your inspiration and how did you come to this point? So it'll set us up for more questions.
Sure. Yeah. You ready to get started now?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
perfect. Well, hi guys, everyone. Thanks for coming. This is really exciting. I love the Alchemist Kitchen and
Thank you
haven't
so
been to
much.
go there a lot because of, COVID and everything, but I was there recently and very happy to be there. So,
Uh,
um, yeah, so I guess my background, I'll start with how I just got into wellness and health and all of nutrition and all of this in general.
yeah.
Started back in around 2007. I quit drinking alcohol, and that was a huge change in my life. I was, a huge like party girl, just going out in New York City every single night, and I got to a point where I had to quit totally. And
Uh,
that's another story. There's a little
yeah.
bit of that in the book, but when I did that, I realized that if I actually wanted to feel good, because of course I was using drugs and alcohol to feel good about life and to feel good about myself and to have fun. And if I was going to actually enjoy my life and feel good about myself, I had to find other ways to actually feel good without drugs and alcohol. So for me, that path started with nutrition. And so I started to, go into researching, different, because I realized that the food that I was eating was not making me feel good. I was eating a lot of
Right.
sugar, or like takeout food,
Sure.
restaurant food.
Yeah.
I worked in the restaurant industry, so there's a lot of it wasn't the healthiest lifestyle. So
Right.
I had to
Sex in
try
the
to,
City, right? That was
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
right. That
kind
kind,
of, yeah, that life. It
maybe
was,
updated a bit, but still,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, the
yeah.
whole New York City life, yeah.
Wow.
Um, so I started to research different nutritional ways of eating, and I got really into, changing my diet, experimenting with things, starting to do yoga. I kind of just went down this path of like self-care and personal development, and it all happened really quickly because when
Really?
you quit something cold turkey like that, it's like you have to find other ways
Yeah.
to feel okay again,
Of course.
So I really went for it. And in New York, like little did I know, there's so many things to do besides drink. There's lots of healthy things to do in New
Who
York.
knew? Who knew? Right? Yeah.
Who knew? So I really just kind of went in and I started to write a personal blog, just for myself, kind of like a diary, sort of just documenting the changes that I was making and how I was feeling. For some reason, it felt easier for me to do it all online. And then as I continued in my research, I found a program, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and this was in 2010. And I enrolled very soon after I found out about it. And because it just seemed to me like I was already researching nutrition. I was
Yeah.
already, spending all my time reading books, looking at things online. And this course to me seemed to be a lot of the people I was already learning from and more in a succinct program that I would be able to be certified as a health coach and could actually help other people afterwards.
Oh, in other words, that was the certification as a health
Yeah.
coach. Well,
Hmm.
just for people who may not know what, so just define integrative nutrition. I mean,
Yeah.
as a study, you know?
Yeah. So integrative nutrition pretty much means like a holistic way of looking at your life and your health and wellness, not just nutrition, but your relationships and your spirituality and your, taking care of your body and movement. It's everything kind of all encompassed, and your mindset, of course. So it's really looking at every aspect of your life, and instead of just food, although food is a huge part of it, and often food is the starting point for people, right? Changing their
Yes,
diet, maybe wanting
yes,
to lose weight or wanting to try to heal some type of condition. You get
yes,
your foot in the door with nutrition, and then you realize there's all these other things in your life that you also could be
yes, yes,
improving or enhancing. So
yes,
yeah.
yeah,
So
great.
that was the program. And at the time, I had started to blog about some of the nutrition things I was learning, but I didn't have, this was before I enrolled in the program, and I was blogging about things. I was like, I just found out about coconut water. Have you guys
Yeah.
heard about kombucha? That was things I
Oh,
was blogging about.
yeah. Yes.
And
In other words, you brought the user on the same journey of being
yeah.
curious, which is
Hmm.
great because people are insecure that they think everybody else knows. Nobody knows. You have to,
I
go hand
know.
in hand, That's
Hmm.
great. And so
Yeah,
that
because for
also
me,
gave you
reading.
it gave you the educational confidence, right?
Exactly.
To
Yeah, when I
pivot
found
into
the
your,
integrative nutrition program, I thought, okay, I can take what I'm learning and share it on my blog. Not only will I have more credibility as a writer because I have training, but I'll be able to share all of this new information that I'm learning from all these amazing teachers as I go through the program. I can write blogs about them and help, like, give people resources.
yes,
So that's
that's
what I
great.
ended up doing. Hmm.
That's great.
And I didn't really even plan to become a health coach. I just wanted to be able to have topics to write about and to share with people online because that was what I was really enjoying.
Yep.
But after I graduated, they made it really easy to become a health coach. They really taught you everything about how to help other people to improve their health and their
Yeah.
lives. And Dr. Frank Lipman, who a functional medicine
Yeah.
doctor
Yeah.
in the city, he was hiring someone for a part-time position because one of his health coaches was going on maternity leave. And so someone reached out to me and they were like, I know you have a pretty flexible schedule. You're a writer, he needs someone to come in just for 3 months
Yeah.
and cover for someone. And I was like, I love Frank Lipman. I already followed his work,
He's
of
great.
course.
Yes.
And I was like, this would be such an amazing opportunity to work for him. And also I would have more things to write about.
And
So
the clinic is Be Well, right?
yeah, well, actually, Be Well, he's
That was
actually
the
now
book. Yes.
yeah, his company was Be Well, but now he's working for The Well, which is,
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's with the Be Well. Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah. He still has his own practice as well,
yes.
but then
Yes.
he's
Yes.
doing a lot with
But
The
for
Well, which is
anyone about there, just to give him a little prop, is for people who are really looking for integrative health. Maybe they're struggling with different types of health issues, mental health issues, and so on. His whole approach. Look up his book. He's a great guy. So please continue.
he
Yeah.
is an amazing doctor, and so I got to sit in his, and anyway, the long story short, the 3 month maternity leave position turned into about 4 years of me working in his office because I just loved working with him. I was learning so much. I was spending my whole day working at his office in between patients, researching the latest trends in nutrition so we could help the patients figure things out, like, oh, what's this paleo diet, like just trying to figure out
Yes.
what might help people. So I learned so much about supplements. I saw hundreds of his patients one-on-one. So I got to really learn how to coach people, not only with nutrition, but people that were struggling with other conditions and see
Wow.
and I would sit in with Dr.
What a
Littman and
what a fantastic residency,
it
huh?
was so cool. It
Wow.
was really, I'm really grateful. He's one of
Yeah.
my greatest teachers for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's blessings to you. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And now and he's written the foreword to my book. So I feel very grateful for that too.
Yeah. Yep. The
Um,
Rebel Apothecary.
Yeah, so that's basically the starting point for all of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, And so
Thank
I
you.
can, I continued my blog all along the way, and yeah, that's sort of the road to health coaching.
Did you now? So that was in that. So we're in 2012 now, 14,
At
15.
this point, when I was working for Frank, it was like 2013 to 2017,
Yeah.
16, maybe like around that time. Yeah. Hmm.
So then what, once you left, was that to write the book? I mean, what have you
No,
been doing?
I actually I actually ended up leaving because, well, I sort of like phased out. Like I was working full time there, and then I started to work a couple of days a week, and it's really because I started traveling a lot, and I was really working a lot on my blog, and I would take time off to go travel, and I was going to like yoga conferences and stuff, and
Nice.
it started to phase out where I started to do quite a bit of traveling. So
Yeah,
I started to just write full time and just kind of shifted. But I
great.
always stayed in touch with Frank and would cover for people and
Sure. That's
would like
great.
work at events for him. And like we have a very good relationship. So yeah.
That's great. Hey, I wanted to ask you, so in your family, what was did the grandma have the medicine? Was there, in other words, in terms of influence to what might be have been inspiring you to this path, right? Is there, we have this saying at the Alchemist kitchen: grandma had the medicine and mom took us to the doctor. Did you have that kind of, do you have that in your heritage?
I actually didn't learn, I didn't really have an exposure to anything plant medicine related until I started to go on my own journey with it.
I see.
So no, it wasn't a traditional part of my background.
Great.
It's been all self-discovery. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into the motivation for the book, because the book really covers this arc of care. We kind of call the arc of care from
mm,
cannabis all the way into psychedelic, right? And we've been through the period of cannabis and CBD and plant and how cannabis could be a gateway to plant health as opposed to the
yes.
conditioning to hard drugs, right? And that was a big shift in terms of people's ability to open up to the fact that plants can be healing, right?
Mm,
And now we have this other part of the arc, which is psychedelics and the emergence of fungi, medicinal mushrooms, which we're very, in our company, we're very interested in. And so what's very unique about the book is you really covered the arc. I mean, well, how did this is not a CBD book. This is really a plant health and mushroom and a lifestyle health book. Really, it's
yeah.
how it feels, and a great primer. But talk more about that, how you put it together, what was your concept?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say I love that you said cannabis being a gateway to plant health, because that's totally been my own experience.
Yeah,
As I just told you in my story, I had quit drinking and I had quit using drugs. And to me, cannabis was one of those drugs that I was quitting. I was,
yeah,
and so I never thought I would have a reason to revisit it. I never thought of it as a medicine. I just thought of it as something that I used in college to get high.
yeah.
And so my experience with it, so surprisingly, has been that CBD and cannabis has opened me up to a whole world of herbal medicine. And now I'm studying herbalism and
Yeah.
learning so much about the medicine that's in so many different plants, not just, the psychedelic plants or psychoactive plants, but herbs. And it's just amazing. And the whole plant world is just, it becomes more fascinating to me every single day. And I know it is to you
Absolutely.
too, which is why I love you guys so
Well,
much.
the thing is that look, there's hundreds of thousands of holistic practitioners, which is part of our legacy, right? Your legacy and mine, in sense of the interest in plant health.
Mhm.
And these holistic practitioners, they show up as acupuncturists, as chiropractors, body healers, Reiki healers, and yoga teachers, the whole ecosystem. And they always looking for where do you cross over?
Yeah.
Where all these modalities, which we are all pursuing for personal growth, right?
Mhm.
And transformation, which I think you really touch on in the book in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That's what we're after, and the plant health can help us there. All these practitioners are looking to cross fertilize. That's why the school you went to, everybody's looking to, how do I commingle with other modalities and
Right.
knowledge to make my patients or my clients healthier, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's really going to accelerate in this year,
Yeah.
particularly post COVID, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Creating a whole ecosystem around yourself of the different ways to really support your well-being. I think that's really important.
Yes. Talk a little bit in the book. You do also bring in a lot of culinary recipe and is that the awareness? Was that your way to generate awareness to the importance of nutrition and food? Talk a bit about
Yeah,
that.
well, that part, I guess I can start with the reason that I decided to write this book
Yeah.
is because back in 2017, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And it seems like so long ago now, but if I really put myself back into that moment, it's like that's a real before and after moment in my life, as it is with anybody with a cancer diagnosis or a loved one with a cancer
Of
diagnosis.
course.
It's
And
before and
that
after.
advanced, right? Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that moment it just catapulted me into a whole new realm of research and advocacy and learning that I never expected. And it was all because I wanted to help support my dad through chemotherapy because I knew he was going to go down the traditional route. And I thought, I know so many people in the nutrition world at this point. I've learned so much. There must be something I can do, somewhere I can pull from to help him get on an at-home protocol to support his immune
Of
system
course.
and so I really just dove into research and I started asking around. I called Dr. Lipman. I called some of my other, mentors in the nutrition
Sure.
world. And I started to ask around, and medicinal mushrooms were one of the first things that came up. And I had a feeling they would because I had a minimal amount of knowledge about medicinal mushrooms. I had seen them around, and I know like David Wolf had talked about them a lot. And
Sure.
so I was aware of them. Um, but so I had a feeling that that would be one of the things. So medicinal mushrooms, a lot of people, were like, look into that. And then cannabis was the other thing. And I had one of my friends said, hey, you should look into CBD and cancer, just like Google it and just see what you find. And I looked into it and I found a lot online about people using cannabis to help with their chemotherapy side effects. And also some people saying that it helped with their cancer, which of course I
Wow.
can't say is, fact,
Yeah.
but there's anecdotal stories
Sure.
about that.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I need to get my hands on some CBD, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to give it to my dad. And I went to the Alchemist kitchen. And so this is back in 2017. You guys were like the only place that had CBD.
I know. We kept thinking the DEA was going to come in. Forget
I
about
know.
the
When
FDA.
I went in there and I bought this bottle of capsules and I bought a couple of tinctures and I walked out being
Oh,
like, is this okay?
oh,
Like I have
that's really, thank you so much for sharing that story because that was a moment. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a
Mm.
moment.
A
So what a
huge moment.
fantastic, so it was you had a major catalyst to
Major. Yeah.
dive into mushroom and
Yeah, and thank you to you guys because it was like when I was like, where do I find CBD in Manhattan? It was the only place I could find. And thank you for being able to provide that because my dad started taking that CBD immediately. And one of the first things he noticed was that his joint pain started to go away just from taking the CBD, not any medical cannabis.
yes,
So
of
he
course.
noticed it, and he's like skeptical about things. He's
Yeah, of
not like
course.
gonna jump on the bandwagon. And he was like, wow, like when I walk up the stairs, my joints don't hurt anymore. And I was like,
Wow,
it's a
that's great.
CBD.
See, something.
So so I started to make cannabis and medicinal mushrooms kind of the all-star players for my dad's
That's
at-home
how the two came
regimen.
together.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's how the two came together, the
Yeah.
cannabis and the mushrooms. And psilocybin was not a thing that I was even
Oh
thinking about
no.
yet. So we'll get to that later. But it
Yeah.
was the medicinal mushrooms, chaga, reishi, turkey tail, shiitake, maitake.
Yeah.
I know I'm forgetting some, cordyceps, all of those
Yeah.
mushrooms. So I had him start to take those. I mean, we ran this by his oncologist too, and his oncologist was aware of, medical cannabis and cancer patients using it. And he
Yeah.
was like, I can't tell you that this is going to do anything, but it probably won't hurt. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you go do whatever you
Yeah.
want. So
Way of
we
giving.
decided to, hmm?
Yeah. It's a way of the doctor to give
Right,
permission
right,
because
right, right.
anything that will be a relief the family wants to
Yes.
try,
Yeah. So, we agreed to just monitor his progress. And if there were any adverse side
Yeah,
effects or anything, we would stop.
yeah.
But so we got him a medical card in Massachusetts because at the time only medical was legal in Mass. Now adult use is legal as well. But we got him a medical card and we got him on Rick Simpson oil, which is just a
Uh-huh.
high potency
Yep.
cannabis oil. The one that he is on is a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC.
Yes.
And he's been taking that the last 3.5 years, as
Wow.
well as all 7 of the medicinal mushrooms that I talk about in the book every single day. So
Wow.
he's and the CBD, the
Yeah.
original CBD
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we got at Alchemist
Yeah.
Kitchen.
Yeah.
So he's been on the CBD, the Rick Simpson oil, and all these mushrooms the whole time. And as soon as he started on this regimen, his chemo side effects started to go away. The nausea, there's
Wow.
people have loss of appetite, pain, fatigue, people have vomiting. There's
Oh yeah.
so many different side effects with chemo, loss of
Yeah.
energy and everything. So he started to feel better with these things. And with his neuropathy and his fingertips, lion's mane mushroom has really helped
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And so as I was seeing this happen, I started blogging about it. So I was like, okay, here's what is going on. My
Yeah.
dad has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. If you Google stage 4 pancreatic cancer, there's nothing good that you find. There's
Yeah.
no positive
Good
things. So
news. Yeah.
I was like, I need to put out some positive things for people to find when they Google stage 4 pancreatic cancer, because
Yeah.
he started to do really well. And so I started blogging about it because his blood tumor markers started to go down and he started to
Wow.
feel better. And his doctors were like, this is remarkable. Your progress is amazing. And so I started writing about it on my blog and sharing, links to things and telling people how to get a medical card. And I started getting tons of emails and I was responding to people personally all the time because these people, are caregivers or cancer patients.
Yes.
They're in this desperate state. So I'm spending a lot of time, here's what you should look for at the dispensary, like
Yeah.
send me a photo of the
So you
product that you're
started to get
using.
other caregivers,
Mhm.
right? You did you see an immediate response?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It was a little overwhelming in the sense that it's not the kind of thing that I feel comfortable ignoring, those
Yes.
messages on Instagram and emails, but it was taking up a lot of my time. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, okay, this needs to be able to get out in like a bigger way. But it
Uh,
was not my idea to write the book. Actually, a friend of mine had sent my blog over to a book agent, and the book
yeah.
agent read the blogs, and she was like,
Yeah.
"There's a book here."
Yeah.
And we got on a call, and she was like, "Would you be willing to write a book about this and combine the cannabis and mushrooms into one place?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes." How could I say no?
That,
So,
but that I think that I mean, really, for the people listening in and the and everyone, is that when you hear the story that of what the groundswell was of energy, the catalyst that brought the book together, it translates into a certain honesty,
yeah,
of how the book was put together, the story, and I mean, you call it a practical guide, you know but it's really a story. It's really, really great storytelling coming from a place, because you're learning on the job. It wasn't like,
yes.
hey, look, I know, I've been there and back, and here's what you do. You were learning
No, yeah, I was learning as I
on
went.
the
And
experience.
in fact, my book
Wow.
deadline was
Fantastic.
6 months, and which is a small amount of time to become an expert in a topic, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
in
of
that
course.
6 months of writing the book, I went to medical cannabis conferences and medicinal mushroom seminars and herbal retreats and mushroom
Yeah,
walks. And I was just like finding anybody that I could that
yeah.
could, mentor me in these subjects. And people in the plant medicine world and plant world in general, as you know, are so generous and
Yes.
so passionate about spreading the medicine inside the plants. It's like we're the stewards for the medicine inside the
Absolutely.
plants.
Absolutely.
And everyone is so welcoming. So I'm so blessed and lucky to have the people that I did that fact checked the book and mentored me along the way.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I just dove straight in. And I mean, you asked originally about the recipes, and the reason that I have that in there is because it's not just a book about my dad's cancer journey. I started to use these things for my own wellness. So I started to
Yes.
use medicinal mushrooms every day, and I started to use CBD for anxiety and helping me with sleep. And
Yeah.
I was drinking lion's mane tea before I would sit down to write. And I started to incorporate it. So it's kind of this cancer piece, but then it was like, my life is changing because of it. So I
Yes.
wanted the book to be, okay, if you're a caregiver or a cancer patient, there is some information in here for you. But
Yes.
if you're someone like me who's just wanting to enhance different areas of your everyday life, that is a huge piece of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You lean much more into how one that's blessed with health,
Mm,
how do you maintain it and
right.
how do you get into a regimen?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a good part of it, because because of the blogging, you were doing a lot of writing too, so you
Right.
were in the mode.
Yeah.
Why the Rebel Apothecary? Why the name?
The rebel came because, well, first of all, when I started to get into the world of cannabis and trying to get cannabis products for my dad, we did come up against a lot of red tape. And then I started to really research like the war on drugs and the history of cannabis and what has been
Yeah,
going on for so many years. And I was angry. And I'm not an angry person, but this really fired me up,
yeah,
and I was like, this is not fair that
yeah.
AIDS patients didn't have access to their medicine in the 90s and that so many cancer patients don't have access to their medicine now. I
Yes,
know that it's helping people and people can't get it. Like, it brings me
yeah.
to tears almost. It makes me
Of
so.
course, of
So
course.
I was like, nothing had ever got me that fired up before in the world of wellness, So, and they say if something fires you up like that and it is really touching you, then that's
Yeah.
what you should probably be focusing
And,
on.
and it's so true, because I can't tell you that, how, the 4 years working with the Alchemist Kitchen, birthing the Alchemist Kitchen and being on the front lines there. When the issue of cancer would come up, you had to be careful. You
Yeah.
didn't want to. You don't want to talk about an alternative treatment. So the energy is more, well, you really got to
Yeah.
talk to your doctor. But they do say that you had to beat around it, instead of feeling confident. You could say, you know what, these are options.
Yeah.
And that became,
100%.
you develop a vocabulary of how to try and engage with
Yes.
customers and people, because
Right.
they come in with health issues, and
Hmm.
that's a signal of great trust. So you start just like you had at Lipman, where the patients start to really pour it out if they feel safe and trusted, even in a retail environment.
Yeah,
We've had the privilege of that. So you just
for
want to
sure.
honor it. You want to honor it. And there weren't that many good books on cannabis and CBD. I think
Yeah.
your book is another next level, because it takes you
Thank you.
on this next journey, which is we probably should touch on. In the area of um, the difference between, there's the medical space, there's the recreational space with mushrooms, cannabis,
Mm,
CBD, and so on. And then there's the medicinal space, which is for a medicinal space where you're just trying to create options in an informed way, and present plant medicine and plant health in a
yep.
medicinal way. But the
Hmm.
recreational interest right now in mushrooms, and the medical interest in mushroom for the treatment of mental illness, which
Yeah.
is inevitably going to change the dynamic with our dependency on antidepressants. It's inevitable, right? So
Yes.
that's like, that's inevitable. So how, from your perspective, you know, with our community, our shared community of people that are conscious, self-directed, they want to make good choices, what do we say to them?
And
What,
just to
what's
be
the
clear,
message
here
that
we're
we
talking
say to them?
about specifically psilocybin mushrooms, correct? In
Well,
this dialogue?
I just think guiding people and giving people some guidance that,
Yeah.
look, if you're in a stage of your life where you're looking for a plant medicine journey, so that might
Hmm.
be ayahuasca, or
Right.
it might be going for San Pedro, or going, then there are different types of ceremonies. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're looking for psychedelic or psilocybin and mushrooms, the most important thing I think we as teachers and we want to share with people is it's all in good intention, trusted, find good ways into the experience,
Mm.
have a lot of self-confidence and right. So I'm just curious how
Yeah.
you see that right now. How can you guide us
Yeah.
um
It's a
uh
good question.
in this period, because it's really it's opening up.
There's a lot happening. And I've been thinking about this almost exclusively. Honestly, this is something that
Really? That's
I'm thinking of, learning and finding out as much as possible, specifically
sure.
about psilocybin mushrooms, which is the compound within magic mushrooms, if anyone listening does not know
Yeah.
that. Um, it's a tricky we're in a tricky place right now because they're still illegal, but
Yeah.
the health benefits of them, specifically what interests me the most is the studies that they're doing with treatment resistant depression, which I think is defined as depression that has not responded to at least two, traditional pharmaceutical medications. Is there something that
Correct.
that
That's correct. Yeah.
depression that has not been easy to treat, and they're seeing such good results in those studies, and that
Yeah.
information is coming out, but it's not yet legal. And
Yeah.
so there's a huge amount of people who want to take advantage of psilocybin, but it's still like an underground
It's
type of thing.
underground. Yes,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
underground, right? So,
Yeah.
but the issue the issue is that the issue is that you know even compared to cancer, the number of people that are struggling today in families, sheltered at home, with people who have
Yes.
been depressed, or
Yeah.
people who are fine, but they tend to have low mood and they get down
Yes.
into the low mood or isolated. It's a very, very serious
I
in
agree.
the
It's an
context of
epidemic.
the virus,
Yeah.
not I don't think much attention paid to it, but now you're going to see more and more attention paid to it because we see this with COVID. There's compromised immunity. It doesn't just go away. We see this at the Alchemist Kitchen, people coming out and expressing the isolation and the challenges. So we know that's there. And I think medicinal mushrooms, the reishis and all the shagas, all of the medicinal mushrooms are really great to get into to relax the body, to
Yes.
help you sleep. You agree, right?
100%.
So medicinal mushrooms are a great place to start.
Yes.
My thing is that I think that with people wanting to microdose or have a father,
Hmm.
or an
Hmm. Hmm.
uncle or an aunt or a
Yeah.
sister, who really struggling, it's like stage 4, but
Yeah.
it's it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. So you tend to
Yeah,
want
so I
to
I
find
well,
ways
I
to
can
facilitate.
yeah, and totally, and I can definitely give my opinion on it. And of course, I have to say the disclaimer that A, it's illegal. B, I wouldn't recommend anyone go out and experiment with psychedelics alone, especially if they haven't been researching or
Of
haven't
course.
don't understand enough about it, because it can be very psychologically distressing if you
Oh, definitely. You always
don't
need a
have the right.
companion.
Of course,
Absolutely.
but I'm a huge proponent of psilocybin for
Yeah.
depression, and they're using it with depression and anxiety in cancer patients with a lot of good results
Really?
as
Wow.
well, which is so
Yeah.
awesome. Like end of life anxiety, which is beautiful
Yes.
to see these people being helped. So, I guess what I'll say is, if you are going to experiment with psychedelics, I would say that you should have a trained guide, whether that's someone at a ceremony that's leading that has a lot of experience, or whether it's a trusted friend or family member that
Yes.
has experience and can really hold space for you, because people are going to do these underground things regardless. So like we can say, oh, don't do it, it's illegal, but
It's
they're going
about
to.
encouraging the
Hmm.
community of people to
Yeah.
honor these indigenous
Yes.
plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we have an obligation to our ancestors to honor them. That's kind of how I like to look at it, because then everybody, that's why I ask about the grandma, because those are our ancestors. We honor them, and
Yes.
I think that helps people.
Totally.
Um, and
I,
and and don't be solo. Be
Yeah, no, have support. I think the one thing to really learn from the clinical trials that they're doing is they're doing a lot of prep work, a
yeah,
lot of support during the
yeah,
actual sessions, which are high dose psilocybin sessions, and then a lot of integration work, all of which I
yeah.
think is very important, whether you're taking a smaller dose or a larger dose, to just make
That's
sure
right.
you've
That's
prepared. What's your intention for taking it? What are
yeah,
you trying to find out or heal or experience? What do you want out of it? Make sure
yeah.
you feel completely safe in your surroundings, in your environment, and with whoever is supporting you. Hopefully you'll have someone there with you, especially if you're going to do a higher dose. And then a plan for integrating whatever happens to you during this, or whatever you learn or experience, being able to integrate it back into your own life, whether that's with a therapist or with some type of support system. I think
Absolutely.
that's very
I,
important.
th-
So
I think our goal tonight was just we want to encourage people. It's okay to have the dialogue, and
totally.
just know um, that we're in a period of decriminalization. We're in a period of more research, but we have to hold ourselves accountable and responsible
Yeah.
to each other to make sure plant medicine is respected.
I think it's important to talk about it because it's not something I ever felt comfortable talking about before. Because again, it was like this illegal drug, and it's not another level from cannabis because it's a psychedelic, right? And
Yes.
so it's like, oh my gosh. But I've had a lot of experience, especially over this past year with COVID, experimenting with it in
Yeah.
very safe ways and well
Yeah.
researched ways and well
Yeah.
supported ways, and it is totally changed
Oh
my
yeah.
life. And there's different levels. There's the microdosing, which can just be a mood and focus uplifter, but I
Yeah.
think if you really want to do the deep work and find the root cause of your depression or whatever you're struggling with your the deeper doses, the higher doses, can be helpful for doing that, like, deep
Yes.
inner work.
Yes. And
And then
and
there's
and often, if you can do it in a group setting
yeah.
where there's leadership, it's very good.
Yes, yeah, if you can do it in
We
a
we
ceremonial setting.
I did a Q&A with Merlin Sheldrake. He wrote The Entangled Life. It's a phenomenal book.
I just saw that at the bookstore. I need to get that.
Just phenomenal. And he tells the story where 400 million years ago, the plants were still in the water. They had not moved to the land yet. They were
Mhm.
still in the sea. And the mushrooms, the mycelium, waved to the plants and they said, you know what? If you give me some photosynthesis, I'll show you the way to the land. And they collaborated. And he tells a story to say that plants, there's a consciousness in there, and there's a collaboration. And mushrooms are where this healing energy, this collaborative energy is so remarkable. So
Yeah, I think it's hard to talk about to people who haven't experienced psychedelics because it's hard to talk about in general. There aren't a lot of words to explain what happens, but if anyone has experienced it, it is something
yeah.
that can connect you to
So
consciousness and
absolutely, yeah. And just in and then we're going to go right to questions.
okay.
Now we're in a moment now uh, where people are drinking less. Plenty of people have been drinking more because of
Mm.
COVID, but there is a groundswell of people interested in zero proof, and we're starting to work with these botanical spirits and herbs like the blue lotus's skullcap, certain herbs that have just a slight psychotropic change of state. Very, very minor, but enough in a mix, in an elixir. You can have a non-alcoholic, socially engaged experience.
Wow.
And the partner or friend can be drinking alcohol, and you're no longer dismissed to Diet Coke and iced tea, which is another issue. The whole zero proof movement
Oh, I
is
love
coming.
that.
So
Great. I'm coming to a party at the Alchemist kitchen when we are allowed to party
yeah.
again.
So let's go to some questions.
Yeah.
Um, yes, let's see. Laura Cooper, I'm wondering if you might have any information or experience with holistic nursing.
I
from
personally don't. Do you have anything to say on that?
oh, but then there's an answer. Okay, I
Oh,
see.
great.
They're chatting with each other. Okay. Um, we have kind of an affirmation, Debbie saying, I'm a psychotherapist who had the opportunity to be part of a research project with plant medicine and integration. I've
Amazing.
been free of depression for 4 years as a result. So the implication for mental health in the future is amazing.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. Thanks, Debbie.
Um, do you have thoughts about Lyme disease, or have you been in situations where you tried to help people, or offer up solutions for Lyme disease naturopathically? I mean, Stephen Buhner, he's the guy. If you
Yeah, I was gonna say there. I know of him, and I think it's important with that kind of thing to just work with a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor.
Yes, yes. But if you look up Stephen Buhner, he's really probably the leading um, maker of natural medications for Lyme disease. Very, very strong. The Dragon Botanicals, I think. Yeah,
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We it's very, very good results with that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see some other questions. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, they're all kind of chatting with each other. Nice. What tips do you have on starting your own Rebels Apothecary?
Ah.
Where does one start if they are new or living a more healthy and consciously? The easiest way isn't so intimidating. Yes. I
Okay.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. So, well, another one of the reasons that I called the book The Rebel's Apothecary is because I started to feel like, well, it was not only rebel because of the cannabis bit, but because of the idea of using plants as medicine in general is kind of
Yes,
rebellious, right? It's rebellious
yes,
against kind of conventional
yes.
medicine. Not that we want to shun conventional medicine, but we want to add to it. So I started to find that my own apartment was, this apothecary of different tinctures and topicals and
You should see
potions
my
and
house.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. So, I mean, I think that the way to get started is specifically with like CBD and medicinal mushrooms, which are kind of my wheelhouse, I would try a couple of different types of products and methods of delivery, especially when it comes to CBD. I'm sure you know, and you've seen this a lot. Different people respond differently to different kinds of
Very
products. So
important.
someone may respond well to a tincture, but not a topical, or, depending on what
Yes.
their issue is. So a lot of
The
people
form
that
of
are
ingestion, right, is so
exactly.
important. Yeah,
Right. So I personally find that having a tincture, and I love the ones that you
yeah,
guys have,
yeah,
that works well for me because it's easy to measure out the dose because you know exactly how much you're getting.
yeah,
And it's fairly quick onset, like 15-20 minutes or so that you'll
yes,
kind of know how you're feeling. So that's something that I would really start with.
yeah,
I think topicals are really great for, pain, muscle pain, joint pain. A topical CBD product can be really great. Capsules and or edibles are kind of in the same boat because you are ingesting both of them and they take a
yeah,
little bit longer to kick in, but they can also last a little bit longer. So some people
yes,
like to take that for sleeping, or like the combo of a tincture and a topical, because the tincture helps you maybe fall asleep, and then the capsule. So there's lots of different things
yes,
that you can try. So I would start by experimenting. That's the biggest thing. And with the mushrooms, every medicinal mushroom has a different effect. So, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps is great for energy. You guys actually have cordyceps at the store.
yeah.
I've never seen it in like that before.
I know we're crazy over there.
It's
Yeah,
amazing. So, chaga and reishi are both great for the immune system. All of them are great for the immune system. But um, starting out, with the mushrooms, I would say like make teas or cook with medicinal mushrooms like shiitakes,
nice. Yeah,
maitakes, lion's mane.
put it
Those
in
three
your
are really
salad.
amazing. Hmm?
Yeah, put it in
Yeah,
your
I've
salad.
I've been making shiitakes almost every day. So kind of just like start to bring these things into your life in really natural ways. I make chaga tea for my immune system all the time. I always have a pot of chaga brewing. And that's just,
Really?
you take like a chunk of chaga. I'm sure you have chaga chunks at the
Yeah,
Alchemist
yeah,
station.
yes, yes.
And, throw them in a pot of water. I just kind of let it simmer all day, and I'm just always sipping on it. And I was doing that while I was writing my book because I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and I never got sick, which was awesome.
And you get it. I think your message is just start. You start
Mm,
investing, get it into
yeah.
your routine,
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
incorporate it into your routine. And that's, I think it's important to emphasize though that ingestion and bioavailability is really very important. So you got to ask that question. And I think with they're starting to make gel caps like a liposomal, and they're emulsified, and so they saturate better into the bloodstream. There's a lot
Oh,
of
great.
there's technologies that are being developed, nasal, where you take it in the throat and spray, or in the nose. So a lot of things are going to happen. And also, what's so exciting is I think you're going to start to see makers and designers and people like yourself, authors and journalists, cooks and chefs, start to infuse, because it's infusions that start to get really exciting,
Yeah.
where you start to infuse lion's mane into a chocolate, or
Yes.
you start to look at CBD. How does CBD and fungi, how can they get to know each other and
Yeah.
add some value?
Right.
As long as it's adding some value, so I think the next few years you can see a lot of
Yeah.
stuff going to happen at the genetics, the seed level. um,
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of stuff coming out also with psilocybin added to it once the legalization starts
oh,
to shift
totally.
more. And
Yeah,
one thing I wanted to mention to anyone listening who is like, I really want to get started with psilocybin or figure, there's
yeah,
clinical trials that are enrolling right now that you can enroll in for depression and a few
yeah,
other things. So I would look up some clinical trials if that's interesting.
yeah.
And
I mean,
then
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
but then
Also,
also with, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. You go.
That's okay. I was just going to say, if you do have access to it and you want to start with like microdosing, say, I would just personally, the way I got started was just starting with a really small amount and then just kind of working up to get acquainted with it, right? Get
Yes.
acquainted with the medicine, how it feels in your body. And then after a while, kind of going up to those
Well,
larger,
actually, it's very, very true that uh, if you're dealing with mood and depression, you want it to be sub-perceptual.
right,
That's how so sub-perceptual, I don't feel anything,
right.
because it's not intended for you to feel anything. It's intended to take away the
Yes.
negativity that so what happens is people say, gee, I just don't feel anything, but I don't feel depressed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so the self-awareness is coming from,
Yeah.
but
And like
but
the,
but you make a good point that it's start slow, and
mm-hmm.
very low dosage is a
Yeah.
good is a good thing. And for those of you out there that may not know, is what is going to happen over the next couple of years is you're going to get decriminalization. You're going to get very soon where psychotherapists can go through some training, because the front line of psilocybin is completely different than cannabis. The front lines will be allowing psychotherapists to use it in clinical settings, under supervision, for the treatment of health. It isn't something you go take on the side recreationally to manage that disease, that condition. So that's where we all have to be responsible in the conversation,
Right.
and just look for trusted sources.
Yeah.
Um, my my mom has a rare stage 4 uterine cancer, which mushrooms and CBDs might be best for her to consider taking. Do you think that's consistent with the cancers that you were contending with your dad?
Well, across the board, a lot of the medicinal mushrooms have been shown to help with being like anti-tumor, having anti-tumor effects in lots of different kinds of cancers.
Oh, okay.
Turkey tail in particular is one to look into.
Turkey
Um,
tail. Yep.
And then also there's a supplement that's derived from shiitake mushrooms called AHCC. And they actually use this supplement in China and Japan at cancer hospitals in conjunction with chemotherapy to support the patient's immune system. So that's one that I would definitely look into. And then maybe a medicinal mushroom blend to throw into a smoothie, with
Yeah.
7 to 10 different mushrooms is really good.
Yeah.
As far as the cannabis, if someone can tolerate the THC, then I would look into going to a dispensary and getting a Rick Simpson oil, or it's called RSO at a lot of places, type of product. You'll have to start really slow because it's high in THC, but it has shown to be helpful
That's a
with
great tip.
cancer.
Oh, no, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. If people want to, do people have, if people wanted to reach out to you, learn more about the book or questions, how would it be that, what would be your guidance? What should they do?
I would say if you have these kind of questions, like what should I look into or what should I take, all of that stuff is in the book. Also, I have a blog post, healthycrush.com/cancer. I've
Great.
written a whole protocol there as well.
Can we
So
put
there
that
that
in the chat? That's really a great tip. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
so there's a lot there. So I would say if you look through all of that stuff and you still have a question, you can
Oh,
email me.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. If
Cool.
you go to my Instagram, which is Jenny Sansouci, Sansouci, there's a little button that says email, and you can just send me an email. That's probably the easiest
Oh,
if you
there it
want to
is.
get.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So those
Terrific.
are a couple places to start.
I think that people just, I think they get excited because you've had the personal experience,
Yeah.
and when you're in need and you have a loved one and you want to help, you're just
Yeah.
looking for
I know.
honest support.
I know the feeling. So yeah, I wrote the book that I wish someone would have just handed to me when my dad
Well,
got cancer.
one. I think we have time for another question. What was the most surprising thing you learned when researching your book, or more than one? What was there anything really surprising for you
The most
that you could?
surprising thing, you know what? Yes, the most surprising thing to me personally was that I learned that the fight for cannabis legalization has been so heavily skewed towards patients wanting their medicine. And I guess I had it in my mind that it was like people that just wanted to smoke weed, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so many patients have been on the front lines advocating for cannabis legalization for the entire time. And there's just so many people who have been suffering and working so hard to get their medicine. And to me, that was a huge perception
yeah.
shift. I
Yeah,
did
a lot
not
of people don't
realize that.
realize that the entire movement started
Yep.
in San Francisco with AIDS.
Yes,
So
exactly.
and we'll have our 420 celebrations next month. So
Yep.
that's good too.
I think the psilocybin for depression thing was also surprising to me because I had experience with psychedelic mushrooms in college, but again, it was recreational. I didn't think of it as
Yeah,
therapeutic. And then so when
right.
I learned about what was happening with people who have been suffering with depression their whole lives, having these high doses of psilocybin in a therapeutic setting or a ceremonial setting, and being able to heal their depression, or to only be taking this like 4 times a year rather than 365 days a year, which is how many times you have to take an antidepressant. My mind was pretty blown by that
Yes,
information.
absolutely. We have this. There's a certain vibe I think developing too with the balance between the interest in plant health, all the modalities, and the adverse climate, the impact of climate change. And sometimes it's like the mushrooms are kind of selling, the mycelium are kind of saying to humanity, if you would just give us a shot, get to know your medicinal mushrooms, we will reward you more than you can imagine, because some of the science and the solutions of how to counter climatic global warming and climate change is embodied in the science of fungi,
Yes,
the use of the
yes.
fungi,
Yeah.
for as a tool, as a
Yes, to
companion,
clean up the environment for
to clean
sure.
up
Yeah.
the environment, like a big vacuum cleaner,
I know.
and
It
and
that
it
that
feels
was actually very surprising to me too, that it
right.
can really break down toxic waste and plastics and clean oil from water.
I
It's yeah,
know,
it's really the
crazy. So
mycelium is
that's
amazing.
another. It's a bit more ethereal, intellectual, but it's a great motivation for people to pursue, to pursue plant-based,
Yeah.
plant-based health,
There's a lot to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so delighted to have had this chance to
I
talk with
know.
you,
I know it's such a fun
and you know what?
conversation.
We'd love to get together.
I
Let's
would
get
love that.
Rosina and Ezra, and let's have a meal.
I
Maybe
would
it's
love to
time we
do
can
that.
start to have a meal. But really appreciate you very, very much, and let's find ways to do good stuff together.
I would love.
Thank you.
Oh, we should talk about the book club.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah. Oh, I'm passing the baton because we have 5 minutes. So yes.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Lou, thank you
Rashina.
so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you so much, Lou.
I'm
Yeah. See you soon.
going to first, Jenny, I just want to ask you one question that came up a couple of times in the
Yeah,
chat,
sure.
which is one, your plants in the background, if you know anything about them, they're beautiful.
That's a great question. I actually put that out on Instagram a couple days ago because I was like, what are these plants called? I have no idea. So I don't know the names of them, which is really silly. But I got this one from the Sill, and I got this one from, oh gosh, a plant store in Brooklyn, and I don't know the name of it. I don't know the names of them. I'm sorry.
No, they're beautiful. They're great. And then we did have a reoccurring question, which was best non-psychedelic mushrooms or CBD strains for depression and anxiety.
Great. Reishi, I would definitely say reishi for anxiety. Reishi is a really good calming mushroom for the nervous system. So drinking reishi tea at night. I even sometimes, suggest that people swap out like their nightly glass of wine if that helps to calm their anxiety. Like try drinking reishi tea. I know maybe it won't sound as fun, but it will make you feel better probably. It might.
Yeah.
So reishi is amazing, and you can take reishi in a tincture as well. So a tincture or a tea is very calming. And then with CBD for anxiety, you'll have to experiment with your dosages. I would, for acute anxiety, like if you're in like panic, some people really like inhalation. I like an herbal vaporizer that doesn't use vape oil. You just take the CBD flower, and it's like you can get CBD, like it looks just like, it looks like weed, but it's CBD, and put it into an herb vaporizer and it heats it up and you can inhale. That's really good for anxiety without the smoke. And then a tincture. A tincture is good for anxiety, but it takes about 15 minutes to kick in, so it's not like gonna take your anxiety away in that moment. Yeah, so that's what I would say about that. Oh, depression. CBD can be mood enhancing in general. You'll have to experiment with it and see how you feel on it. I would recommend again a tincture because it's really easy to dose. And then lion's mane mushroom has actually been shown to help a little bit with mood as well. So I would check that out.
This is all great. We actually have a really beautiful selection of things that Jenny just mentioned, and then you guys can all use the Get Your 10 discount for a nice discount off of those mushroom products. But I really want to speak about Jenny's incredible book club that's going to be launched in April. Um, you know, Jenny, I'm so grateful for that conversation. I just learned so
It
much
was
about.
awesome. It was
It
so
was
good.
so great. I learned so much about you and so much about your beautiful process. So I think that, the book club is really modeled in a way that we're going to get back to our healing roots through avenues like cannabis and medicinal mushrooms and psilocybin. So we're going to go into all these areas. The book club page can be seen here. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. And hold on one second. And we're really going to have the opportunity to speak with Jenny one-on-one and learn from her expertise and her experiences, and then also work with, things like the culinary questions that you might have that are more specific. So, Lou brought up a great question, which is like, how can we work with you one-on-one? This is really an opportune time to do that. And then
Yeah.
we are offering a discount. The discount code is Rebel Rebel. I'm putting that in the chat right now. That's $25 off of the whole container. So with that, you get the book, you get access to the 4 classes, the recordings, and then we're also sending a curated gift bag, which includes a CBD tincture as well as a medicinal mushroom powder that we have created ourselves through our proprietary brand, Plant Alchemy. But Jenny, I
Amazing.
don't know, am I missing anything? I mean,
No, I think yeah, and I should have said that when he said how can people learn more. I should have just said join the book club. But this is good. We're talking about it now. Yeah, we're just gonna do a deep dive. It's gonna be 4 Thursdays in April. And do you know, will the recording be sent out to people that can't make it live if they're members of the book club?
yeah, so basically,
Okay, so we'll record it.
yeah, and I sent it out the day after, and it becomes like a really beautiful, intimate gathering. So it's a great way to have the element of community, so that everybody can connect. And then if you're really looking on how you can, build your own Rebels Apothecary, which actually can be intimidating, I think that this is like a really great way to jumpstart that. Or if you, have experience, it's a great way to lean into that part of yourself.
Yeah, and we can like we'll dive into like cannabis, CBD, all the different medicinal mushrooms. I think there's a whole class just on psychedelic psilocybin, and we'll talk about like the medical side of things and the wellness side of things, and just kind of like really get into it. So, and I'm constantly researching, so I'm going to probably bring a lot of stuff that's not in the book to the book club as well.
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
So again, that's in the chat. Rebel Rebel is the code that you can use. The with the discount, the whole container is $90, so that's super, affordable. And then if you are looking for it and need to work with a payment plan, you can email me at learn@thealchemistkitchen.com. And yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful to you. I just learned so much about you, about your work, about your passion for this work, which is really exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you guys. So,
Thank
and
you
you've
so
been a
much.
big part of my journey as well. So I appreciate you guys so much.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I guess we have to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye, but we have to.
Just keep hanging out.
And everyone will get the recording for this class, just so you know. So if there's anything, like Jenny mentioned, a lot of amazing products that I've never heard of. So you'll have the chance to go back to that material.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for
Thank you so
having me.
much.
Bye.